Grand Forks, and I got my Burkese cowboy boots on tonight, which is a Ken Mellon story. I got to know Ken when I was 10 years old, and started playing hockey, and there was this kid with this monster slap shot, and you know how the emulate people. That was Kenny, and that's when I first noticed Ken Mellon. And he skipped in his boots. I worked for him, Control Data, and I was working in Los Angeles. I didn't do anything with asking Ken what he thought of it. And I liked these cowboy boots, but he was going to be in town about 2 weeks, so I said, Ken, I want you to look at these cowboy boots. I think it's okay if I buy them or not. And they were real expensive, and they were pretty cheap. And so I bought these. He said, go ahead and buy them, but do a good job in negotiating. I did. I got them for full price. So yeah, it's kind of negotiating. Round heels. It's a good thing they got round heels, because that's how you negotiate. You roll over. But being from North Dakota, and I know Joanne will understand this, because they're so good, I've only worn them 15 times in 22 years, because they're too good to wear. That's our culture. That's when I first noticed Ken. I was 10. And first time I started really working with Ken was the Pee Wee golf deal. He ran it in Grand Forks, and I became his assistant, helping with the kids. And then I see Marty Lass was here. We wound up working. He was 19, I was 16, running Lincoln Park Golf Course for Paul Laird. Was a pro, and he was a really good professional. He played the tour with Palmer and stuff. He liked to play a lot of golf, so he was gone probably 50, 60 days of summer and left us in charge. And the golf ranger, those of you golfers, wasn't a nice golf cart. It was an old, beat-up, bright orange motor scooter. And that's what you'd go around the golf course and check on the golf flow with. So Kenny and I, running the golf shop, we would have a contest that whoever lost had to go buy lunch hamburgers at King Leo's. Who could go from one tee to one green to two on all the holes back into the clubhouse the fastest? And we'd do that before lunch. Now imagine these golfers trying to pick off, and all of a sudden here I come by this one. And they go about 2 or 3 more holes. Here comes Ken, or it's saying, and that's what we do. And then he, when he got into college, and I think, Joanne, you were living in Marriott, weren't you? Not the Quonsets. Were you in the Quonsets? Those of you that aren't familiar with Grand Forks, are you familiar with Prudhoe Bay? The Quonset huts were World War II Quonset huts that were put in there and converted into student married housing. They were on the west side of the university, where the first bush to stop any snow was somewhere in Montana. And in January, it really did look like the scientific station on the South Pole. Well, Kenny was coach of the all-star junior hockey team. And as a continuation of a lifelong situation, I was his assistant. And I remember one time, there was no indoor ice, nothing. This was, we practice at night, hour-and-a-half practices. These kids were 13, 14-year-olds. We're at Central Park. It's 30 below zero with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Now, you know, you just wore little skates. You couldn't put a lot of socks in the skates. And it was so cold, we were used to it. I mean, your fingertips were numb, and you knew your toes were actually going to be white frostbite. But this was really a rough night. And I went to Ken after about an hour of the practice. I said, Ken, do you think maybe we should call the practice a little short tonight? And here's Ken, and he's got frost all over his face. It's over his eyes. He's got icicles hanging out. He looked like a abominable snowman. He said, no, they're playing on crap. We got to get the whole practice. And that's how, there was no quit in Ken. So we had just a long history of life together, a really close one that I'm going to get an opportunity to talk about some more later. But he was so humble that Joanne didn't know that Ken, somebody mentioned his slap shot. He and his team was so good that they formed and went to the Nationals, Pee Wee Hockey Championships. And after the first game, when they saw his shot and the goals he scored, they were calling back to Deaconess Hospital to check his birth records. It's serious. They had never seen a shot of that power, that level of hockey. I mean, it really was a boom rate. It was an equal slap shot to the kids on the university team, and I'm not exaggerating. So when he got to high school, he started for the state championship hockey team all 3 years. He was the leading scorer all 3 years. He had the career and the school record, and I don't know when that record was finally eclipsed. I know it wasn't through the time I played with my friends, and I don't know when it eclipsed, but he had the hockey scoring record, and very few people that I knew that controlled data and on in life knew he played hockey. He was just that humble. But that was my first connection with him. And regarding golf, he and I shared a life of golf together. When he was 13 years old, he shot a 67 at Lincoln Park. I remember hearing that. I go, wow. So I just started golfing. Boy, to break 100 and shoot 90 something at 13 was talking about a good path. He talked to me. I followed him. Now I live in Florida in the winter and Minnesota in the summer, just like him. And back in March, he won the Bayou Club Championship again in Largo, Florida for the 1,000th time, birdie 4 of the last 5 holes. This is really unique, but Ken Mellon shot competitively in the 60s in 6 decades. And unlike me and the rest of us, he didn't lose his game. He still hit it every bit as hard and solid all the time. And I was just amazed by it. I was kind of going, how come you aren't having all these problems? He was just a bull. And one other story, and Jim, you'd probably appreciate this. Ken and I go out skiing in Whitefish with your dad, Walt. And Walt was a tough guy. And Walt could ski. There was no run out there. He was about 78 or 9 at the time. And there was no run off limits. He kept up with Ken and I were pretty good skiers. And we had a great couple days. Well, if you've been there when the real thick fog sets in on Whitefish, I mean, it sets in, the third day it set in, you can't see hardly your skis. You're up on this mountain, it's right by Glacier. And they got these posts with these great big fluorescent circles that you can follow on the way down. You hope somebody didn't move in front of the cliff. But we get down, and I'm heading in. I turn around, they're going back up. They're going skiing for the day, not just a few runs.
They paid for it.
And they just kept at it. And so anyway, just a lifetime of business and life all over the country. We played golf in Hawaii, Acapulco, East Coast, West Coast. We went to the Masters golf tournament together. We grew up playing golf together. He was the #1 man on the, again, conference championship, University of North Dakota teams. Ken is a member of the University Athletic Hall of Fame. Nobody knew that. Just he didn't have to tell people, so I have the opportunity to tell him. I'm going to miss him as much as you could ever miss anybody, and hopefully I can just talk a little bit more